Now at 9, we'll hear from a Joplin-based refugee and immigration services organization on how they helped people in 2023. Plus, how the Missouri Department of Transportation is preparing for possible winter weather. And volunteers help the Downtown Joplin Alliance delight Spiva Park.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach, and we have some possible winter weather moving in tomorrow morning. We go straight to Chloe Arroyo for a first look at the weather.
Thank you, Tanya. Yeah, in the morning, we're going to see some snowfall enter into the picture, anywhere from a dusting to an inch for southwestern portions of Missouri. Heading a little further west is when we'll see a little bit more of a chance to see a little bit more accumulation, anywhere from 2 to 4 inches for our further western counties. This could be anywhere from 6 a.m. to noon. Now, our eastern counties might not see as many road impacts as our western counties will, so that's something to keep in mind. Current temperatures slightly above freezing, but we're going to dip down into that freezing range pretty soon here. Now, coming up in a bit, we'll talk a little bit more about that chance for snow into the morning, and then another system next week. Those frigid temps ahead. I'll have all the details coming up.
All right, thanks, Chloe. MoDOT is standing by to treat the roads in preparation of the winter weather. The holdup comes from whether it rains beforehand. If it does, the treatment will get washed away. For now, they're planning to plow tomorrow and will play next week's weather by ear.
So we do watch the ground temperatures real closely. So say the ground temps are 35, 36, pretty warm. We can generally just plow that off. But if, say, for example, the opposite is true, say the ground temps are below 32, that rain could freeze on contact. So that means we need to get a treatment out ahead down early so that that ice doesn't bond to the pavement.
Another issue facing the department is a statewide shortage of drivers. If necessary, some local drivers could be reassigned to help in the Kansas City area. Well, AAA is urging drivers to be prepared for the conditions and to remain cautious if out on the roads. Make certain your tires have good tread and are properly inflated. Have the battery checked by a professional to ensure it is strong enough to face cold weather. Keep your gas tank at least half full to avoid gas line freeze up, and ensure that windshield wiper blades are in good condition and the wiper fluid reservoir is full. Make sure all lights are working properly. Well, a nonprofit in Joplin is impacting legal immigrants and refugees families in the area. 2023, the Refugee and Immigrant Services Education RAISE supported almost 90 people in the area. KOAM's Fernanda Silva spoke to a refugee from Colombia who shared how RAISE is helping him make Joplin his home.
Harman Menaka moved to Joplin last November. Things in Colombia, where he is from, were not easy. We experienced a family tragedy. A long story unfolded in which we felt like our lives were under threat. Menaka was looking for safety for him and his daughter. At the end of 2023, they became refugees in the United States. But starting anew in another country is not easy, especially when unable to speak English. It's something complex, but we have technology and that helps us. Menaka also found support at RAISE, a Joplin-based nonprofit that provides the tools immigrants and refugees families need to be successful in the U.S.
They're expected to be self-sufficient in a very short amount of time. And so that's where the Joplin community can come in, where they can not only just have a job here and they kind of create these isolated communities like we've seen in other places, but we want them to feel welcomed well here in Joplin. And we want them to integrate well into our community so that they can be an asset to our little town here.
It's just a simple thing. It brings them a smile and you don't know how much you really impact in their heart.
Amina Harman is a case manager at RAISE, but she knows exactly what it means to be facing challenges at home. The Rwandan native didn't have an easy childhood.
When I was 5 years old, I lost my parents in genocide. They came in and started cutting everyone. We started running all over we could run. And when they came in, my mom hid me under the chair in church. And she said, if you want to survive, you have to quiet no matter what happens.
That was the last time Harmon saw her mom. This is only one of the heartbreaking stories Amina had been through.
Asking them food, they spit in my hands and kick me away.
But her life got better after moving to the United States, especially now when she's supporting people with a similar background.
Watching them growing, watching them know their life it's not just ending, it's just beginning, and it's not a lot of people who get that chance or the opportunity to know I'm in the beginning of a new chapter.
Creo mucho en Dios.
I believe strongly in God, and I know that arriving in this country through the front door has been a tremendous blessing.
Llegar a este país por la puerta grande.
In Joplin, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
Rays started in Knoll in 2017 and expanded into Joplin during the 2021 Afghanistan evacuation. For 2024, the nonprofit plans to support up to 200 people. To learn how to help Rays, you can go to our website at koamnewsnow.com. Well, authorities have arrested 2 suspects in the burglary of a closed Parsons, Kansas tobacco shop that was in the possession of the Labette County Sheriff's Department. Authorities had taken possession of the hashtag tobacco shop following an earlier narcotics investigation. Investigators say it was still in the department's possession when burglars broke through a glass front door and stole property from the business. Officers say they found stolen items at a Parsons home where they've arrested a 20-year-old man and a 14-year-old boy in the burglary case. Investigators suspect alcohol played a role in a crash that sent 3 teenagers to the hospital. It happened early today on Hawaii Road, about 5 miles east of Humboldt, Kansas. Authorities believe a 16-year-old driver was traveling very fast, lost control, and the car flipped end over end multiple times into a pasture. The driver and 2 teenage passengers were taken to the hospital with what appeared to be non-life-threatening injuries. And authorities were seeking alcohol-related charges against all 3 teens. Coming up, an appeal to the nation's highest court.
The U.S. Supreme Court is now under the gun to come up with a definitive ruling on ballot access. I'm Doug Luzader in Washington. We'll have more on that legal battle coming up.
It's a trend that appears to be gaining popularity. A 2023 survey by the American Academy of Sleep Medicine found that 1/3 of people who responded reported occasionally or regularly sleeping in separate rooms to accommodate a bed partner. Health experts say so-called sleep divorce can both help and potentially hurt a relationship. Mandy Gaither has more on whether it's right for you.
It's a blast from the past, an old trend gaining new traction in homes across the U.S., sleeping separately from your partner.
Sleep divorce, and I don't really like that name because it suggests, divorce sounds so dire, but we want to achieve sleep compatibility, so it doesn't need to be an all or nothing solution.
Psychotherapist Robbie Ludwig says sleep is a critical part of overall health. Those who don't get their recommended Z's can be more vulnerable to certain medical conditions like diabetes, cardiovascular problems, even dementia. But she says sleeping in separate beds can impact intimacy. If you'd like to try the trend, she advises to go for it on an as-needed basis.
If you have a big business meeting or if you find during the week it's really important for you to have good sleep, you can find that you maybe have separate sleep for a period of time and then sleep together on the weekends.
If you do sleep separately, Ludwig says to find time to be intimate and to connect with one another. And if you're not sleeping through the night when together, she says to make sure something else isn't at play.
If you find that there's no medical reason for it and there doesn't appear to be some psychological conflict underlying the separate sleeping issues, then you can figure out a plan that makes sense for both of you.
Ludwig says that sleeping arrangements aren't one size fits all and that each couple should do what works best for them. Well, a bad night's sleep can cost you tomorrow and 10 years from now. A new study found that people with more interrupted sleep are more than twice as likely to have memory and thinking problems a decade later. Researchers started by tracking the sleep quality of a group of people in their 30s and 40s. Those most likely to sleep poorly were male, Black, and had a history of depression and a high body mass index. Well, Chloe is next with a complete look at your forecast. And later, Webb City squares off against William Chrisman in the opening day of the Kaminsky Classic. We'll have the highlights.
Well, it looks like the 4 states will go to bed with a clear area, and then in the morning you'll wake up outside and see some snow along with it. So here's a look at your Indigo Sky Casino and Resort just west of Seneca, Missouri. A clear parking lot right now, clear skies right now, but not for long, and those temperatures have declined quite a bit in the past couple of hours. Will continue to do so. Stockton already below freezing, Monette at 32, Pittsburgh 36, Fort Scott you're at 35, Yates Center hanging around at 34 degrees right now. We're going to slowly dip down, and our feel-like temperatures are still going to be really chilly into the lower 30s, upper 20s for the most part. Some of us could feel a little above that, but above all, we're going to want to make sure that we're keeping track of the feel-like temperature, because overall, that's really what our body is going to respond to. So a consistent pattern across the board throughout the rest of the weekend. Sunday, for your Sunday morning, you'll wake up into the feeling like the lower 30s, and we'll be in the lower 30s as well. Now, for your snow potential, Friday morning, we could see anywhere from a dusting to an inch for southwestern Missouri. Heading a little further westward, we could see an inch to 2 inches and even 2 to 4 inches for our further western counties. Now, the main timing anywhere from 6 a.m. to noon. Now, for northeastern Oklahoma as well as southeastern Kansas. You guys could see this a little earlier than 6 a.m., but the really big portion of accumulation will occur throughout 6 to noon tomorrow. Now, eastern counties, your road conditions anywhere from minimal to none, just because we're seeing a dusting upwards to an inch. Still something to keep in mind, but your western counties, that's where the roads could get a little more slushy, so keep that in mind for your early morning commute, especially into the evening hours too, because we'll see those temperatures above freezing for a little bit, but there are chances where some areas might not see full melting of that snow. So here's a future track. We'll see early Friday morning. This is about 6 a.m. We'll see that snow begin to enter into the picture. Very widespread. Take note of that. Anywhere from light to moderate snow. As you head a little further south, it'll be a little bit more scattered by noon. And then we'll see a little bit of a break before we see the remnants of that, and that will leave us with some showers. Some of us could see a couple of isolated snow showers here and there, but none of which will cause any type of accumulation, because at that point our temperatures, take note of that, above freezing, upper 30s, lower 40s by the afternoon and evening hours. So that's going to continue into Friday night, early Saturday morning, into scattered showers, but above all, nothing too significant at that point. Road impacts for Friday morning especially, a little on the significant side, but they'll melt into the afternoon because we'll be above freezing, especially for your weekend will be cold. But once again, above freezing, we'll take it at this point. 39 for your high on Saturday afternoon. Here's a look at the rest of the 7-day forecast. Once again, we're going to be nothing but cold the rest of the week. We see another big system on Monday and Tuesday, so that's something to put in your calendar. As well as Friday and Saturday, we're keeping an eye out on that date as well.
Well, we didn't really get a white Christmas here, so maybe we'll get some snow now?
Maybe we will. Maybe it's a little bit of a delayed Christmas at this point.
It's funny. It's like right when the kids are going back to school.
It really is. Perfect timing, huh?
They're going to be crossing their fingers.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thanks, Chloe. Well, Joplin's Spiva Park is not shining as bright today. That's because volunteers with the Downtown Joplin Alliance took down the holiday decorations that were set up. Lights were unwrapped from trees and bushes, loop lights were stored away, and larger pieces hauled off.
Have been great to work with us on it because they kind of know where the power is, and they know we can store all the stuff. A lot of the stuff gets stored here under the fountain. There's actually rooms under the fountain, so it allows us to have access and storage there. So Parks and Rec's been a huge help for us on both putting up and taking down.
The volunteers were treated to some hot chocolate for all their hard work. Coming up, fake threats with real consequences.
A dangerous phone prank called swatting has lawmakers on high alert. Meanwhile, a wave of bomb threats forced state officials to evacuate their offices yesterday. I'm Rebecca Castor in Washington with this story coming up.
Credit card debt is following some Americans into the new year. The Lending Tree Credit Card Confidence Index shows only about half of American credit card customers think they can pay off their December debt in full. For those who may not be able to pay off their December debt, experts recommend credit card counseling or transferring some or all of your balance onto a 0 annual percentage rate card. Car makers bounce back with higher sales. Americans reportedly bought 15.6 million vehicles in 2023. It was a 12% increase compared to the previous year and the biggest year-over-year increase in a decade. The jump comes despite strikes hitting major automakers, high interest rates, and chip shortages that stalled new car production. Electric vehicle purchases also rose 47%, while gas hybrid sales went up 54%. Well, last year was the busiest ever for air travel. Still, plane passengers were not plagued by widespread cancellations. Yesterday, the Department of Transportation announced a 10-year low in canceled flight nationwide. Fox News correspondent Christina Coleman has details.
It was phenomenal. I loved everything about it. The travel was good.
The flight experience is fantastic.
No delays, no cancellations.
Air travel was a little less turbulent last year, according to new data released by the Department of Transportation. The agency reporting Wednesday of the 16.3 million U.S. flights in 2023, less than 1.2% did not take off. That's the lowest rate since 2013.
We've been pushing the airlines hard. We pressed them on realistic scheduling. We pressed them on staffing. And we made sure that we took steps that were under our own responsibility, especially with things that the FAA could have some control over, like improving the routes that aircraft are allowed to fly on.
With a record number of travelers passing through airports nationwide during the busy holiday season, the total amount of grounded flights was even lower, with 0.8% of flights canceled.
Sunday after Thanksgiving was the most recorded in American history. So really pleased to see these dramatic improvements in performance by the airlines.
This comes as travelers are shielded by expanded consumer protections, including free rebooking and meals on all 10 major airlines, and 9 offer hotel accommodations when airline issues result in a cancellation or delay. Secretary Pete Buttigieg says the Department of Transportation is also directing attention to reducing the number of flight delays. In Los Angeles, Christina Coleman, Fox News.
Up next, we'll check out an adult skate night hosted by Joplin Business. Well, folks in Joplin tonight put on their roller skates and took a spin. Roller City Entertainment hosted an adults-only skating experience. It was a chance for newer adult skaters to get used to it. Officials say it provides a unique atmosphere.
It runs in the blood. My granddad, he was a champion speed skater. He started working here. He kind of helped shape the business back before it was Roller City, and this place building really kind of means a lot to me. And honestly, my kids, they come in here and they're carrying on the tradition speed skating.
Roller City Entertainment hosts an adults-only skating night on the first Thursday of every month. Awesome idea. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports is coming your way. A string of prank calls about bomb threats puts several government buildings on high alert. Plus, former President Donald Trump appeals a Colorado Supreme Court ruling to ban him from the state's ballot.
You're watching the 4 states' most watched news.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Buck. A rise in fake threats on public officials and government buildings has lawmakers on high alert. Fox News correspondent Rebecca Castor has the latest on the dangerous prank call trend.
Multiple Capitol buildings across several states were targeted with bomb threats Wednesday, adding to the rise in fake reports and swatting calls on lawmakers.
Obviously, people enjoy this. This is hate. This is harassment.
The hoax forcing evacuations in Georgia, Kentucky, Michigan, and more. The threat coming from an email sent to multiple government offices The FBI is working to determine its origin.
This is evil intent, and this has got to stop.
It's not just government buildings facing threats, but also lawmakers' homes. Criminal pranksters have targeted a running list of politicians on both sides with fake 911 calls. It's known as swatting, where the caller ensures a large police presence. Often a SWAT team shows up to someone's home.
They had been told that I had murdered someone and I was ready to either commit suicide and that I was willing to shoot police officers when they came to my house. It's extremely serious.
Now lawmakers are hoping to pass legislation to increase the penalties for those who make these threats.
The objective is to really give prosecutors the ability to go after people who perpetrate these attacks and hold them accountable with up to 20 years in jail.
At least 2 states, Virginia and Ohio, have already increased penalties for these attacks on the state level. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Authorities in Perry, Iowa say a 6th grader is dead and 5 other people are injured after a gunman opened fire at a school. They say the gunman was a 17-year-old. He was found dead with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Police are investigating the suspect's motive and reviewing social media posts. Former President Donald Trump is now asking the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn an effort in Colorado to strike him from that state's primary ballot. It's the latest legal salvo for Trump, and as Doug Luzader reports from Washington, it comes as President Biden's re-election campaign is coming into sharper focus.
Well, there is a pressing deadline here because in Colorado, the ballots have to be finalized tomorrow. And as expected, this is all coming down to the Supreme Court. Under the glare of the lights again, 2024 is barely underway and the Supreme Court already has its hands full.
Waterloo, thank you very much.
Former President Trump is asking the court to overturn a Colorado decision that he be stricken from the ballot there over his actions on January 6th under the 14th Amendment's little-used insurrection clause. In the appeal, his legal team says the decision would unconstitutionally disenfranchise millions of voters in Colorado and likely be used as a template to disenfranchise tens of millions of voters nationwide. That follows a similar battle in Maine after the Secretary of State there also said Trump was ineligible to run.
You can't call someone an insurrectionist that never did an insurrection, that's never been guilty of an insurrection. It's un-American, it's ridiculous, and it's frankly election interference at its finest.
What happened on January 6th was unprecedented.
The White House and the Biden campaign plan to highlight Trump's role on January 6th, with the president visiting Valley Forge tomorrow.
Democracy is one where he seems to have been doing better than Donald Trump, which I think is why you see him leaning into that messaging so much. But Donald Trump is also countering, arguing that because of the 90-plus charges against him, the Biden administration is also a threat to democracy. So they're both sort of playing a tug of war with the same line of attack.
No word yet from the Supreme Court, but the justices are widely expected to weigh in on this whole issue of ballot access. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
A little bit later, how a community is using goats to help residents recycle those old Christmas trees.
While we're tracking snowfall for your Friday morning, we're also seeing another system, a much larger one, next week. But let's just focus on one at a time. Here's a look at our Indigo Sky Casino and Resort just west of Seneca, Missouri. A clear parking lot, a calm night, cold one, but a very calm night until we see the snow enter the picture early Friday morning. Here's a look at your temperatures above freezing for the majority of us. Some of us are actually dipping close to the freezing range. Monette at 31 degrees right now, Neosho 34, Joplin 36, Iola, you're at 31, and Yates Center hanging around at 35 degrees. So we're getting into that freezing range. We're going to continue to see that. We're also going to feel like freezing temperatures for a long time. So take note of these feel like temperatures throughout the weekend. Saturday morning, you'll wake up feeling about 32 degrees. So make sure that you keep that in mind because your body's going to respond to that feel like temperature temperature more than anything. So make sure you're layering up if you have to get out and about heading into the rest of the weekend. Now, talking about the elephant in the room here, your snowfall potential. Anywhere from a dusting to an inch for southwestern Missouri, but as you head a little further westward, you could see upwards of 2 to 4 inches for our further western counties. This is really something to note. Anywhere from 6 a.m. to noon. So when you wake up Friday morning, chances are you're going to see those snowfall, or you're going to see that snowfall out your window. Now, eastern counties, in terms of road conditions, you'll have minimal impacts, but you'll see slight impacts, a little bit more significant as you head a little further west into southeastern Kansas and northeastern Oklahoma. So keep that in mind. Here's a breakdown of what we should be seeing. So early Friday morning, by the time we get to 6 a.m., the majority of our area will see that, especially northeastern Oklahoma, southeastern Kansas. You guys are going to start to see that snowfall first and foremost. And then into the afternoon, early afternoon, this is about 11:30, we'll see a little bit more widespread snow before we get into that break in the afternoon hours, and then we'll see some scattered showers. A couple of us could see those snow showers here and there. Now, we're not going to see any chances of accumulation at this point. Those temperatures above freezing, upper 30s, lower 40s at this point. So whatever reaches the ground won't stick at that point. So whatever you have it there, say you have an inch at this point, you're not going to get much more than that into the Friday evening hours. We'll be phasing out slowly but surely with our showers by the time we get into Saturday, early Saturday morning. So by the time you wake up, you should be clear and good to go. Here's your snow and meter. Road impacts at a minimum will be a little bit more slight, like I said, for those western counties. So keep that in mind. It could be a little slushy here and there. So make sure you're avoiding those areas as well as bridges, because that could ice over quicker into the later evening hours. Saturday and Sunday will still be cold. 39 degrees for your high on Saturday, 46 on Sunday. We'll see a break from precipitation on Sunday before we see our next weather maker on Monday and into Tuesday. That'll be a little bit bigger than what we're dealing with right now, but until then, we'll see that. And then Friday and Saturday of next week is what we're also keeping our eye on.
At least we got a little break between all these systems.
Yes, a little bit here and there.
We're going
right?
to give us some light stuff. All right. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah.
All right, thanks, Chloe.
Of course.
Well, as the recovery effort continues in Maui, hard choices are being made about the balance between welcoming back much-needed tourist revenue and protecting the rights of locals. Hawaii's governor says there are still plenty of displaced people, and his new budget proposal includes significant funding for housing. Well, coming up in sports, the 2024 Kaminsky Classic tips off at Joplin High School. 4 of our local teams are in action. John Dales has highlights from all of today's action up next.
The 25th Kaminsky Classic basketball tournament tips off this afternoon at Joplin High School. It features 4 of our local high schools from Southwest Missouri, as well as 4 making the trip from all across the state, including St. Louis and Kansas City. William Chrisman travels to Joplin to play in the Kaminsky Classic. Webb City is the opponent. Cardinals trailed all the first half. They were down 13 in the third, but this 3 from Baron Duda brings the deficit down to 10. Webb City still roaring back. Holton Keith gets 2 defenders in the air. He scores plus the foul. That ties the game at 50. Now next possession, Eli Pace with the righty layup. That gives the Cards their first lead of the afternoon with just under 3 minutes to play. William Chrisman didn't go away though. Trey Taylor gets the bucket and the foul on the other end. We would go to overtime. In the extra session, 30 seconds left. Cardinals down by 2. Eli Pace with the biggest shot of the game. Nails the 3 to put Webb City in front by 1, but just 15 seconds left now. Bears down 1. Taylor again, this time from 3. That had proved to be the game winner. Webb City with a great comeback, but the Cardinals fall 63-60 in overtime. Second game of the afternoon, Carl Junction taking on 9-1 Francis Howell. Bulldogs hanging tough early. First minute of the game, sophomore Brody Pant takes a 3 and nails it. That knots the game up at 3 apiece. On the other end, Owen Larrigan connects on a baseline jumper. That puts the Vikings in front by 1, but CJ once again with the response. Jed Hokut gets the shooter's bounce. Bulldogs back in front. They have a 1-point lead. To the second quarter, beautiful no-look pass from Wyatt McAfee down to Pant for the layup. CJ down by 10, and the Viking offense, though, really starting to click in the second quarter. 6'7" Will Paulson stretches the range from 3. Then Dallas Thornton hits this layup in transition. Francis Howell runs away with it. 81-51 the final score. CJ will face Webb City tomorrow at 2. Neosho against Poplar Bluff in the third game of the tournament. Starting things out in the first quarter, Caden Asbury is open in the corner, makes the defense pay, knocks down the three-pointer to tie the game at 10 apiece. Later in the quarter, Tyrone Harris finds some space in the lane. He finishes the layup. Wildcats trailing by 2. Closing seconds of the first half, Poplar Bluff looks like it found a one-on-one matchup they like. They execute it. Preston Moore hits the 3 to beat the buzzer. Mules leading by 10 at halftime. In the third quarter now, nice ball movement. Caden Asbury gets the open score. Easy bucket. He led Neosho with 15 points tonight. The Mules, on the other hand, got every basket when they needed it. Brendan Durden makes the 3. That ices the game. Wildcats lose a tough one. Poplar Bluff beats Neosho 69-45. And in the final game of round 1, the hosts of the tournament, Joplin, taking on the Wildcats of Union. Early in the first, Kieran Wirth gets a tough basket here, gets the friendly roll. Union went on a 14-0 run to open the game. Joplin trying to stop the bleeding. Trenton Gage hits the short inside jumper, get them on the board. Next possession, fast break. Gage again, back-to-back points as he hits the layup as the Eagles start to show some signs of life. Second quarter, David Ben dribbles inside baseline. He gets the easy bucket. Eagles down 16 at half though. Opening minutes of the third quarter, Whit Hayford goes strong to the bucket. Fouls his own miss, gets the points on the putback, but Union would not back down. Cameron Service follows his miss as well. That leads to points. The Eagles make up some ground in the second half, but it's not enough. Union beats Joplin 50-42. That's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
Americans ramped up their online shopping during the holiday season. Adobe Analytics says they splurged on a record-setting $222 billion worth of electronics, toys, and other items. It says that spending haul between November 1st and December 31st marks a nearly 5% increase from the previous holiday shopping season. Adobe says shoppers were enticed by deep discounts as well as buy now, pay later options. Well, looking to recycle your Christmas tree? How about using a goat? Fox's Greg Payne has more on the project in Pennsylvania that's helping to recycle trees while giving goats a nutritious meal.
It's that time of year when the Christmas decorations come down and the tree has to go. Question is, what do you plan to do with it all?
I have a pile of it sitting in my living room that I plan on first going through my younger nieces and nephews, see who wants what. Some of it's, got some memories. The rest of it I'll just either give away or donate.
Well, if you're looking to get rid of your old Christmas tree, there are several options here in Philadelphia, including right here at the drop-off center where you head on over to the truck and you dump it right there. Residents can also leave trees on the curb where the city will pick it up as trash instead of being composted. But there's also several community collection events, including one that fulfills the stomachs of some four-legged animals. It's called the Philly Goat Project. Starting January 6th, people can drop trees off at the farm at Aubrey Arboretum in Germantown, where goats love to chow down on them.
This is their favorite time of year because they get the Christmas trees and they supervise us. They'll watch us. Did you pick the right Christmas tree? They love the greenery. So for goats, eating green things is very important to their diet.
Leslie Jackson, the volunteer coordinator of Philly Goat Project, says the trees provide the goats nourishment from January to about May. She says the event keeps getting larger and larger. The first year they got 200 trees, but the second year, a huge number.
Last year we got 2,000 trees. And this year we're hoping for even more. We added another weekend. So it's the first, second, and third weekend in January. The third weekend, our friends at Laurel Hill have offered to let us use their space at Laurel Hill West. We'll be collecting trees there.
The GOAT Projects asked those dropping off a tree to donate $20 towards their group. In general, if you are looking to recycle your trees, make sure they are untied and have no decorations on them. The City of Philadelphia website has all the info on the drop-off locations and hours, along with the various community collection events.
Tasty treat. Well, coming up, a Chiefs fan had his dreams come true when they received a very special surprise from Patrick Mahomes. In Missouri, a teenager born with a rare spinal defect and a huge sports fan got a very special surprise. Not only did he get to meet NFL's Chiefs quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, but the team was surprised with Super Bowl tickets. Alan Shope has more on the nonprofit organization making his dream come true.
13-year-old Isaac Murdoch has got game. Yeah, dude never misses. He's a big sports fan and, of course, a huge Chiefs fan. So when asked earlier this week to shoot what he thought was a commercial for Variety KC, he was all in. Then this happened.
What's up?
He showed up. That was insane.
On behalf of my foundation, 15 of the Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, we're giving you Super Bowl tickets to Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas.
It was just shock, just because it was kind of the last thing that I expected.
Seeing him come through the door and that pure shock on Isaac's face and joy was pretty special.
Isaac was born with a rare spinal defect, but he hasn't let that slow him down. He plays a lot of basketball and other sports and is a part of Variety KC, a nonprofit for kids with disabilities.
I love that he gets to highlight all the kids in our organization and show them how special they are too.
Isaac, of course, hopes the Chiefs will play in the Super Bowl. He says that would be the ultimate dream, and as for that other second ticket to go in and see the game with him, they're still working on that. The whole family plans to make that trip to Vegas, and they're hoping to pick up another ticket here or there along the way.
A lot kind of went through my mind, kind of all at one time.
What do you think, man? Las Vegas, Super Bowl?
This is crazy.
That's awesome. That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll leave you with video of elephants in Berlin enjoying some Christmas trees. See, not just goats like to have fun with trees. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow.